Everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 19th, and this is a meeting of the Senior Center Site Selection and Building Committee. This meeting will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation via Zoom is being provided as a courtesy to the public, this meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. This meeting will be live on Zoom. The public may access the proceedings by joining Zoom meeting ID 375-414-6055 or by calling 929-205-6099. For additional information about remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100 prior to the meeting. So I call us to order at 12:02 p.m. Any amendments to the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chair says aye. All right, I think that brings us to our first OPM interview. Welcome to OPM.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. Bonnie's coming in. Just in time, Bonnie.
Just in time.
I'm a little late. All right, so the format for today is the candidates will give us a roughly 10-15-minute presentation, and then everyone on the committee should have a copy of the questions. I thought we could just kind of go around and ask a circle and ask our questions, and then if there's any follow-up or additional questions that come from that, handle those afterwards. Sound good? All right. Well, welcome. Thank you so much.
All right, I'll start it off. My name is Brian DeFilippis. I'll be the principal in charge for this project. I have 28 years experience, have a bachelor's degree out of Wentworth Institute in Boston. I lead the municipal group as part of PMA in the Boston office. Work with Kevin Weeks all the time. So we have selected this group to hopefully propose for this project and be successful. So thank you for the opportunity to have us in to talk. So previous to PMA, I worked for a construction manager at risk firm. So we kind of bring all that type of other knowledge to the table when we're servicing a town as an opening. So we use that knowledge base to manage the project successfully. Manage numerous projects currently, schools, DPWs, police, fire. So we are the municipal team that directs those projects along.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Weeks. I'll be the project manager for this project. I'll be your main point of contact. I have 16 years experience in the construction industry, 6 with PMA as a project manager, 10 as a journeyman carpenter foreman. I went to night school to get my bachelor's. I am a licensed construction super and an MCPPO certified professional.
I'm Natalie Malconian. I'll be the assistant project manager. I've been with here now for about a year. I've been in the construction industry for about 10. And I'm also MCPPO certified.
And I'm Rob Averill. I'll be the site representative for PMA every day. I'm MCPPO certified. I've been in construction for about 11 years.
Welcome. Thank you.
Do you need me to?
Yeah, yes, please, yes.
Okay.
All right, to just put in perspective our team experience. So as discussed, I'll be the lead. We've selected a specialty team for this project. This is our municipal group. We bring the relevant experience that successfully helps to manage projects for cities and towns in Massachusetts. We'll talk about our repeat clients later on in our presentation. So the main point of contact will be Kevin Weeks. He'll be your proposed project manager, and working with our team will be assistant PM Natalie, along with our site rep Rob, will be on site 100% of the time in construction. And you'll see the various projects that we'll work closely with We're currently working in a close by community in Acton. We've had numerous projects with those folks, working on the DPW project and the electrification of that town hall currently. Natalie's also supporting our SEL project out at UMass Amherst, and Rob is supporting the project for Bill Ricka's DPW facility. All right, just to give you our firm overview. So in Boston, we're currently about 90 professionals. We opened our office in Boston in 1986. We are an MBE certified office. Just not the four of us are here today. We have a large bench strength behind us that when we have problems, we have, people to reach out to further solve those problems. So we have four here, but there's many behind us to kind of help us through any project or problem that we may encounter. We are scheduling specialists. We have internal scheduling folks that will be monitoring the schedule on a weekly and monthly basis. We also review claims as far as our change order review process. And we like to think of ourselves as your trusted advisor. So we're an extension of your staff. We look out for your best interests. We, are the project managers for this project, and we'll be incorporating our knowledge base with your teams as well. Next slide. Okay, our OPM resume, we try to break this down in a couple of critical categories. So as I discussed, we are OPMs. That's all we do. Some firms you'll see will do designing and other things amongst OPMs. We are OPMs. We like doing OPM work, and we feel that we're very good at that. We bring our different knowledge bases to the table to make both the designer and the contractor accountable to manage successful projects. A good, cool stat, we've managed about 50 projects on the municipal sector, valuing over $2 billion. As far as project delivery, there's not really much in the RFP that kind of shows what delivery method you'd like, but we have knowledge in all the delivery methods in Massachusetts and know how to kind of, manage those to start with, and can give you some good understanding as to what may be best for this project. Some qualified sub-consultants, we always use PM&C unless there's a conflict with the designer. We typically go through a reconciliation of costs through the various parts of the project. We feel that PM&C is a great asset to our team. I don't think they've failed us once with their estimate. So the designer will have an estimate, we'll have an estimate, we'll convene to have a reconciliation to make sure that we're on budget every step of the project. And then also we'll hire a construction testing agent once we get to construction, and then also a commissioning agent if the town sees fit to hire such a firm. And then other specialties that we focus on. So project controls, Natalie will be the focus on our project controls. We'll work closely with Kevin and myself to manage those things for the project. Contract document management, contract is what we go to, and that's our kind of binding document that we will manage the project to. And then, review of change orders and claims avoidance. We want to review those weekly with our construction meetings. We like to go through submittal log, RFI log, field reports, and look aheads to know what the contractor plans to do and to keep them on task. Next slide, please. Okay, similar project. Kevin and I worked on the Andover Robb Center. This was a $6.5 million project, roughly 12,000 square feet, a little smaller than yours at hand. This was an existing facility that we gutted everything, right back to the exterior walls. We replaced the windows. We trenched new piping. All the piping was gone. So we had to make all of those type upgrades. So we basically went right down to bare walls. We installed a fire protection system, all new finishes, ADA upgrades, two large additions that Kevin will go into in a minute. We were involved with kind of the donation part of some of the, we know the senior centers typically have donation centers that you get money for, and the pavers and donations and that sort of thing. So we were happy to be involved with that. With Andover, lots of outreach to make the project successful. So we'll go into that in our next slides as well. Just this project was very important to the town and located in a very integral part of where all the IT comes to for the town. So we were very, sympathetic to that and kept that on the top of our minds to make sure we were successful. Kevin?
Yes. So an issue that we did run into at the Robb Center was we encountered ledge within the footprint of one of the new additions. Unfortunately, where that addition is also abutted where town's central operations were, their IT, some town office administration, school administration was all kind of right abutting that ledge. So what we proposed was we went out, we enlisted GZA, who are geotechnical consultants. We were able to set up seismographs and other monitoring systems to make sure that we removed the ledge without disturbing anything of the existing footprint of the building. It worked out great. There were no issues. The stakeholders of the surrounding area were very happy, and we didn't lose any time or impact to the project. So things like these pop up, but we are more than capable of finding the solution for it in the timely manner. So your project, our understanding is that you'll be going to a Springtown meeting for the $17.3 million allotment. 700,000 of that is for associated other projects, but 16.6 for the senior center project. I've been by the proposed site at Bishop Road. Looks like there's going to be some phase construction. We're going to have to clear some trees that are abutting that area. So we've already started kind of looking at some preliminary surveying of the area. We understand that this is the third effort to get this built. It's an unfortunate circumstance in construction, but we have run into it a lot. A couple of different examples of how we managed to get the project over the hurdle. Bedford Fire Station, we had numerous in-person public forums with all the different departments, answered all questions that various people had. I lost how many forums we had to have, but we were just out there constantly pounding the pavement, trying to get the good word out for the project. West Elementary, we had in Andover, we had an aggressive social media campaign. We had a website, Say Yes to West was the slogan. We held numerous in-person forums and webinars because it was during COVID, so we had to kind of adjust on the fly. And then we also had numerous workshops with teachers and parents in the area to kind of generate that positive message going forward. And then another issue that we ran into was the Doherty Middle School in Andover. This wasn't as much getting support as we went out to bid and we received no general contractor bids. So what we did was we went back and we had the architects reconfigure the schedule and the phasing. And the next time around, we were able to get not only 3 bids, but 1 bid that was well under budget, and it worked out great for the project in the town. And it was a very happy ending. So that's something that we would be looking to help this town get over the hurdle for this project as well. Next slide. So just using the schedule that was provided to us, we understand that the warrant closes end of March. There's a Springtown meeting.
Yeah, I think
We'll clear that up now.
Okay,
Just confusing that.
Yeah.
so that got moved?
Yeah, we're heading toward fall.
Yeah.
We're heading
Yeah, that's,
toward fall.
yeah, so that's great news because we were kind of overdrive to get where we need to be, and now we can take a step back. So
Yeah.
I was actually gonna,
Fall.
yeah, that was actually gonna be one of my questions at the end, but I wanted, it was, because I saw something for fall and then something for spring. Okay, so fall meeting. But nevertheless, we'll still be, our job is to get up to speed and to get in coordination with the designer. We understand that you have Catlin sign on for conceptual and schematic, and that you're looking to, assumptions that you're looking to negotiate with Catlin for the design moving forward. If that's not the case, we've already taken the liberty of drafting a design RFP for the next phases, just in case something happens, you're not happy with something goes wrong, we don't lose any time. So we've kind of started to think about that already. One item that we'd like to point out in that schedule, the bidding soliciting section, we'd also be starting pre-qualifications. This project is over $10 million, so by law, we have to pre-qualify
Right.
all filed sub-bidders. So that's something that we would be engaging the town to get the committee ready for and to get going, so we don't lose any time there in the bidding process. Next slide. So this is just a kind of a run through of our first 100 days. I've kind of talked about it already, but once engaged, we propose a project team kickoff, get associated with all stakeholders involved, get up to speed with the designer. We would review any conceptual designs and estimates that Catlin has performed. If there are estimates, we'd like our estimators, PM&C, to take a look at them and just kind of reference, make sure we're all up to speed with nothing's missed. From there, we would develop a master project and schedule. Like I said, we have well, like Brian said, we have a very deep scheduling department. They're all experts in schedule analysis and scheduling software, including one that PMA has developed on their own, which I'll show in a slide to follow. After that, well, concurrently with that, we'd also like to start meeting with town agencies, department heads, understand what permitting, any type of issues that we need to get in front of for the town. These things vary from town to town, so it's always good to get that out in the open quickly. We would also be either negotiating and executing the final design contract with Catlin. We would help to assist that, or like I said, if the town should choose to go out, we would be prepared to assist the town with that as well. All while confirming our subservice conditions of the Bishop Road site, excuse me, and evaluating market trends and long lead times. That's an important one. We've started to get letters about steel tariffs, impact to delivery. So that's something that we're monitoring already, and we'll try and stay ahead of as things come.
All right, here's an overview of your site on the Bishop Street or road, sorry. You can see you don't have too many residential impacts here. We, regarding the courier facility and the cemetery, if there was anything that came up, like a funeral or a lot of traffic or clearing trees, and we'll coordinate with your public law enforcement, make sure nobody's impacted. And as far as my role daily, I do daily reports, sorry, work in progress photos, just making sure that we're staying on track, and change order logs, just keep it on top of that too. You can go to the next slide. All right, so we're really involved in making sure that we're not impacting the community negatively at all, whether it's blasting or tree removal. Like I said, high traffic. We just want to make sure that the town knows that we're an extension of you guys and make sure that it's a smooth transition. Long lead time equipment such as switch gears, generators, HVAC equipment, things, tariffs, as Kevin mentioned too. We stay on top of that. We have a release log so we can keep track of when something's going to be here or if it's going to impact the schedule. And unforeseen conditions, as we get into the ground, if we find some ledge or something of that matter, that we have to meet with the designer and the general contractor to find a solution and execute. And that's it. Next slide.
Should be 200 minutes to it. Well, 200 minutes later as to what we've done on the land. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Being a project manager, owner's project manager, we're in the middle of this wheel. We ensure the project runs smoothly. We maintain transparent communication throughout all stages of the project. I'll touch on a few of these. The first one being budget control. We're continuously tracking project costs and making sure the project stays within budget. We also take an aggressive approach to change order management. We're thoroughly tracking, reviewing each change order as they come in. We also provide monthly and daily reports. It'll summarize project status, milestones, schedule updates, budget updates, and status. Another approach we take is community outreach. We'll engage with the community through various channels. If any concerns arise, we're very proactive in giving solutions. Next slide, please. The ways we'll engage with the community. PMA has a dedicated marketing department that has worked with numerous towns, and we're prepared in any way to work with the town in whatever way is best. Next slide, please. This is a sample of a monthly report cover sheet. It gives a summary of the month budget, contingency, change order status, current activities that were in this period, and the current activities for next on, key milestones. I'll hand it off to Kevin.
Next slide, please. So that was the monthly report cover sheet, but this is kind of the background information that we used to put together. This is one PMA, an example of the dashboard budget sheets. This helps us track every invoice associated with the project, not only ours and the designers and the general contractors, but any consultants or utility charge, anything that hits the project, we will track. We update this as costs come in, so it's updated real time. If there's ever a question on any of these things, just reach out to one of us, myself, and we can look it up and send it right to you. So it's a very handy tool that keeps everyone up to date as things change. Next.
Right, what's ECPA? The number,
Those were change orders for
oh, there's just a
a
change order.
specific GC
Yeah.
we're working with.
And then you have like a descriptor on it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep,
yes,
yeah.
yep. So that would, in the
was
month, the descriptor will be shown. So I talked about PMA's own scheduling software, and this is what it is. It's called NetPoint. It looks very complex, but it's pretty simplified once you get into it. It allows us to adjust schedule impacts in real time, and it adjusts to show where we could make uptime as we go. Our scheduling analysts use this software to cross-reference against the others, the project schedule from the general contractor, and from there, we provide an updated report saying where there's flaws in logic, where they can make up more time, and basically if the schedule is within compliance of the contract. Next slide. And then this is also a sample of what would be included as part of the monthly report. This is just a sample of total cash flow. This would be updated monthly. This will show where we're tracking with total project costs. And it will allow us to identify if we're trending high, low, or on budget month to month. We often consult this, on a bi-weekly basis just to make sure that everything is trending the right way. And again, this is something that we would share with the stakeholders.
All right, just to finish off with some repeat clients, we are super proud of this slide. These are communities that have relied on our expertise and our abilities to bring successful projects on time and on budget. Acton, who's close by to Ayer, 5 projects currently that we've done with them. We've been there since 2020. Andover is another one that's current, that we've been there since 2015. So time and time again, those communities have asked us to successfully manage their projects. We're very proud of this slide. If you haven't already, please call our references. They're listed. We really would appreciate that. We're excited for this opportunity. Thank you for shortlisting us. We look forward to starting this relationship with Ayer. And happy to answer any questions that you may have. Hopefully we stuck to the 15 minutes.
We never go over on air.
Should we offer a little
Background.
update on the time? I guess the timeline.
Where we are.
Yeah.
You wanna-
Oh,
Go for it.
Ken?
first of all, just for clarification, we've already done a deep dive on the land. We've worked with the geotech, we've worked with Goddard Environmental, and we're involved in, unfortunately, we're in an ACEC, which controls a little more area of critical environmental concerns. So we have some state oversight, but we've got that process started. We've also worked with the utility companies. We're getting designs completed by the utility companies under Dan's supervision, and pricing by the utility company to bring electricity down the road. Our own DPW is designing the water system down the road internally, so we have no cost for design of that. So we're pretty much out there, pretty far along on the site. We have a great site, all gravel, no ledge, all good sand. We've done deep hole testing. We've done borings, the geotechnical report, ready to basically design the foundation. We've worked with Catlin right along the way on the feasibility. He's given us a lot of budgets, so we do have a solid budget at this point in time, which we'll give to you, obviously. And even recently, Catlin has modified that budget up until the last couple of weeks. We've also worked on modifying the design to try to make it a little smaller and to make it a little more efficient. But this committee has done many tours of other senior centers before the committee was founded, and traveled around the state to different places, talked to a lot of directors, and has become pretty informed, I would say, on what we have to do. And all the timing to get to a fall town meeting is based on, the 3 or 4 months we'll need to get through feasibility, final pricing from the utility company. Just basically the final budgets, that'll come as a result of the schematic design, we hope. And that's kind of where we're at. Just a brief summary. But we have.
I assume all those reports will be available.
Yeah, everything's available.
yeah,
Everything's-
yeah,
we have a lot of stuff. That's actually, a lot of it's on our website right
Yeah, I
now.
think everything's on the website. The only thing that's not on the website is the change to the budget
Budget
you and I did
changes, yeah.
yesterday.
That's fantastic. You guys are a lot
We're
further
way
in
out.
the game
Yeah.
than most.
Yeah.
Very good, yeah.
So there's been a lot of work
When you
done.
start in 2018, you think.
Especially with the utility companies, that's always.
Yeah, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
So you want to start?
Yeah, I can start with the first question. So the third one, I'll allude to something that's in the third question. Actually, no, I won't. I'll just start. So what benefit can your firm provide to the Ayer Senior Center project that other OPM firms may not be able to?
Well, Brian touched on earlier, but we are an OPM firm. This is what we do. We're specialists in owner's project management. There are firms who I dabble in OPM, but they are commissioning agents, designers. That is not us. We are strictly OPMs. Our support services are to service our clients in our OPM capacity. So I think what you would get from us is a specialized outfit versus someone who might be a jack of all trades, but master of none.
Yeah, we all bring things to the table. Like I have a degree in construction management. Natalie has an engineering degree. All those sort of things, kind of bring a good mix to our knowledge base, and quite honestly, kind of are able to, keep contractors honest and keep the designer on task. So.
Next question.
Mhm.
Okay, in your experience, what is the most difficult / challenging part of a project, and what is the most enjoyable?
I would say the most difficult is getting out of the ground. Typically, you could have ledge. Thankfully, it's good to hear that we don't have, but ledge, any type of hazardous material, any buried tanks. It's big money and a hit to the budget right away. That is probably the biggest challenge. Once you're out of the ground, it's kind of, especially if you're building new, it's, kind of a given, more or less. So, and then the most enjoyable, it starts here, quite honestly, right? Looking at your RFP, coming and meeting with you, taking a drive, seeing the site, like Kevin mentioned, and seeing it really from cradle to grave, and really very cool. And we've done it numerous times, and you show up to the ribbon cutting, and it's quite something to think about. All the hours expended and all the kind of challenges that you hurdled, right, to get through. So that's all what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with getting out of the ground. That is definitely usually the biggest challenge of the project. I would add to the best part, I would say, was when you get a TCO and you can kind of get that feedback from the end user of how much they're enjoying the project's benefits. So just kind of that end result, I would say, is the best part for me.
Can you provide some detail of your firm's experience in accurately estimating a project like ours through schematic design phase only? And do you see any advantages or challenges to completing schematic design by the end of June of this year?
And just as a point of clarification, that's, so we are operating now with a state housing choice grant that will expire June 30th. So we're wanting to get through the schematic design phase before funds run out, obviously, but then we would have a gap between then and when a fall town meeting would start.
That's to fund your designer services.
Mhm.
Right, okay. I mean, as I mentioned, we use PM&C. They're kind of arm in arm with us. They have not failed us. They will call the other estimator. I'm sure you've engaged, the designer has an estimator, right? So.
Yeah, it's Fogarty.
AM Fogarty.
Everyone knows, there's only
okay,
two
we
of
know
them,
AM
right?
That's the other one we use when, that's who we use when PM&C is busy.
Right,
Exactly.
and if we have a conflict, honestly, so like if they had PM&C, we'd use AM Fogarty. So if Peter, they
Right
know
choice to
entities in
figure it out.
Boston, they know the cost of a door right now, right? Steel could have a tariff, they're gonna be expecting that and, estimating accordingly to make sure we're on track. And they've been successful, they've been our rock. So that's how I would answer that.
But the point of the question, I think, was that we'd get a solid budget by the end of schematic design.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So can you provide an example of a municipal energy saving project that your firm managed? What was the projected % savings, if any, in the operation of the building? It could be anything from solar power, HVAC design, geothermal, or any related energy saving technology.
North Acton Fire Station, we're proud to say that when we opened that building, solar panels were on the roof and they were operating. We didn't finish, and then there's usually a gap and then some PPA plan or whatnot. Geothermal, solar panels. As far as I don't recall what the savings was, but if I had to guess, 20% savings for both of those in kind of a normal operating building. It's all electric. Happy to give any tours that any of the folks would like. So.
I think the life cycle analysis for the Acton geothermal, it paid itself back in, I think it was 5 years,
I thought it was 6.
6 years?
Oh,
But you did a geothermal project?
Yes,
Yes,
North Acton Fire Station.
It was for the fire station.
yes.
Yes, correct.
And did you find
I think they had a room with it.
the community's reaction to the upfront capital cost versus the long-term energy savings and how that conversation played out within the community?
So they're a green community, so it's something they have to do. We had one resident that was an engineer that we literally brought in a conference room and had the other engineer talk through the calculations. And, it was Steve, it was about 900,000. And it's their commitment to, having more energy efficient buildings. So.
Do you recall if they got any grant funding from the state, maybe through green communities or any other funding aside from local appropriations?
I don't think so. None that we were privy to, at least.
Not
No.
for that project, no. They are looking for some green community funding on their newest DPW project. That is also that's actually gonna be a fossil fuel-free facility.
Wow.
And we're actually working through the geothermal part right now. So we are looking to get rebates and outside funding for that project as well.
Did you work with National Grid on the geothermal at all? Did they come in with an energy assistant, the person who gave you incentives at the end?
It's still early in the process, but yes, we're bringing
It
something.
didn't come in on the fire station though.
No, we did on the fire station.
Yeah, they
as well.
did.
It's pretty typical, most projects nowadays, at least even if you're not doing geothermal, it's the lighting or it's the plumbing fixtures and that sort of thing, so.
Okay. What role will your firm play in marketing and outreach to the public as well as town officials in preparation for a fall town meeting?
We would be prepared to assist the town in any capacity that they need for public outreach. We touched on before, we've assisted with, if the town has their own website, we can supplement materials to help the town. We can help create a website. Our marketing department has done that before. We've managed social media accounts. We've printed out flyers. We've gone to numerous in-person forums, held webinars. Really, any type of outreach that you can think of, I think we've participated in and would be willing to participate in something new if that arises as well.
Yeah, parades, summer socials. Yep.
Socials, yeah.
League of Women Voters, we've been to those things, even easels in every town building to kind of, not everybody's on the internet. So just being cognizant of that and, that's been helpful, but a full mix of all of that is good. And, every community has, a slightly different need, so.
And did any of those methods kind of feel to you as being most effective? Like it feels like we're hitting home why this project is worth the expenditure and that the message resonated. Was it, people went to the website and thought it was great, or was it more hand holding in person? What did you think kind of gave you some positive feedback?
I'd say it varies from community to community. Bedford, there was a lot of hand holding involved. A lot of kind of, come on, we need this project. Whereas Andover with the West Elementary, it was more generating traffic and eyes on the website, and it kind of became an organic type of campaign where the excitement generated from that. So it's a client dependent situation, but we've had success with both.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on like how you would raise excitement, say at a town meeting? It's, if it's not final design, be a possibility of just being up to schematic design, and we're putting that forward to the town. So it's not, it's not done, not quite done yet.
The biggest key is to get people to buy into the need for the building. A senior center, there are multiple neighborhood programs that come out of it. So it's really a key building for any community to have. So our initial approach would probably be emphasizing the advantages of a up-to-date modern senior center, highlighting the services that the senior center provides, and really just kind of emphasizing that this is for the betterment of the town. That typically starts to get the ball rolling, and then based on feedback, you can kind of cater the message to that. But that's my initial assessment. Brian, if you...
Yeah, glad to hear that you guys have toured other facilities. We could offer that really for most of our projects. Hey, let's rent a bus or something and go out to these 5 communities that we see as a close, project to ours. I would also say that, senior center definitely helps the community, and you can see that Meals on Wheels, all those types of things that we saw in Andover. So, just getting a good education, touring the facility, putting that on the website. Hey, here is our conditions. And, we have 30 people in a room that's designed for 10, that sort of thing. Just having it like a lay person could understand that, right?
Please describe a typical day on the job mid-project. How do you handle potential workload conflicts across multiple projects you're assigned to? And what are your best practices for avoiding excessive change orders?
Rob, do you want to go through the daily of the project?
So a day for me, show up, meet with the GC, go over the list of what we're gonna be doing. I already would know from the day prior, because at the end of the day, we meet again. But I'll take a head count, work in progress, a list of what our schedule says and what we're doing, making sure that we're staying on that. I walk the site, make sure that I update the client if there's maybe once a week or before the meeting, just to make sure that we're doing what they're asking and we're making sure that you're happy with what's happening. But pretty much I'm your eyes and ears on site to make sure that everything's running smoothly. But yeah.
In terms of change order management, we do track all proposed change orders on a change order log. Part of that log is also tracking the generator or reason for the change order. This is to help keep the architect accountable. No design is going to be 100% perfect, but if there is a lot of errors and omissions, that turns into a conversation where we may have to go to the architect and say, you're responsible for some of these, you need to come back to the town. So it's really just kind of being in the weeds of each proposed change order. I talk with Rob, if not daily, every other day. I'll be on site at least 2 to 3 times a week during construction. And we just basically just kind of inundate ourselves with the project and the information to make sure that nothing has slipped through the cracks. I'm sorry, I forgot the third part of your.
The other one was about workload conflicts across multiple projects.
So Brian alluded to that we do have a deep bench at PMA. That's not to say that this isn't the team. This is the team that you will get from now till the end of the project. But if things start to pile up, we do have an internal bench forecast that allows us to say, okay, this is, I have way too many hours concentrated here. I need to pull back here. And it allows us to kind of focus on what we need to focus on. So here is my focus. I would go into my bench forecast and say, I'm sorry, you can't get me for these hours here, here, and here. And it kind of earmarks my availability for the town. And it's a work in progress. It's a fluid program, but so far it's worked in not having any conflicts of being, overwhelmed by too much workload.
And we're a team as well, so, I even have a boss. So if we're out collectively, which probably won't happen, Steve will attend a meeting if it's necessary. So, more than
Follow
the
up on the
4
clerk of the
folks
works
here.
thing with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can you guys clarify, I think one of the things with Rob that you say you're on the job 100% of the time. Can you clarify for us if there is a difference between what he's doing or a clerk of the works that's separately put on the job from an outside, another vendor or from part of your firm? He's basically the clerk of the works.
Rob, yes, we call it.
Don't clarify that. There's a lot of people who use that term clerk of the works. We hear it all the time in public work. So in essence, he's clerk of the works and he's there on a daily basis versus a clerk of the works that may come in, like you just said, as a project manager, only 3 or 4 times a week or something like that. It's on site. Your fee will include him being on site for the project when we get into the construction phase of the project.
Absolutely. When construction starts, Rob is on site the duration of the project. If you guys are working Saturdays, Rob will come in Saturdays. We call it on-site representative. He is the clerk of the works.
Right. So by definition, under state law, he's the clerk of the works.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the old school, envision of a clerk of works is kind of,
I know that. Like
documenting and stuff. More than that, of course, he's giving feedback to the monthly report, interacting with the client,
Right.
so.
So his daily report, I'm a little familiar with this. You're gonna have the weather on there, you're gonna have the number of subs on there, you're gonna have the conditions of the job, whether things are wet or dry or whatever the conditions are, and machines, and it's a daily follow-up of what's going on.
Yeah, and then on the next page, it'll say what the subcontractor did and
Right.
then progress photos.
Right.
And then I save it all.
And you
every
just
day.
put it in a folder and it's there for
Yeah,
us.
it's on our
You
SharePoint.
get a folder this big when you're done, something.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, coordination with the testing agent, that's under our umbrella typically. The
Right,
commissioning agent, if you guys see fit to do that, whether it be MEP or envelope. coordination with the police, if, we have a detail that's on site that we have to close the road for.
We're trying to avoid all that stuff in our design, in our choice of the land.
Very good.
On the change orders, in your experience, what has been the most common reason that change orders, is it the design was somewhat inadequate or inaccurate, or, the materials suddenly become unavailable, so you're gonna have to change things, or the construction company kind of got things out of order a little bit, so now what came first and what comes second is gonna have to change? I mean, what are the common reasons why change orders occur?
Site work is the first, a multitude of reasons, you can't see underneath. You do borings. In the case that Kevin mentioned about the ledge, we literally had 6 borings in that area. And we literally were here, the ledge was here, and then we had another boring here. So site work, not coordinating properly between architecture and the mechanical engineers. Sometimes it's those backgrounds that they overlay. Trying to think.
Basically, the task we have as a group and you have as a group is to work our ass off during the schematic design or the design development, any of that phase, to avoid change orders in the get-go.
Yes.
A deep dive into the drawings to make sure everything's coordinated and before we put it out to bid.
Correct, yes. And part of that is we will conduct some QA/QC where we'll review all this, the drawings, the specs, and we'll put together a comment log that we'll share with Catlin.
Okay.
And just saying, hey, where's this? And if it's there and we missed it, he'd just reply, hey, look, sheet C101. But if it's not, it's documented that we noticed it and it should be incorporated. And that protects the town as well, because if it does show up as a proposed change, now it's an error and omission on the architect as opposed to an owner initiated item or an unforeseen item, which those are typically the main 3 errors and omissions from the architect, unforeseen conditions, and then anything that the owner wants to add to the project.
Yeah, and that again will be the collective of us, and we have other folks that can look at the documents. We'll have a working group, around the table, look at the drawings.
Yep.
We'll log them in on the left side, hey, missing landscape drawing for the curve detail. And then we would rely on the architect to respond, oh, the curve details being incorporated, look at this page. Just to keep them, accountable along the way. And that would be a collective of all the drawings and specifications as well.
And we're working with you when you do that process.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
At the table at the same time.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, it's a highly collaborative process.
Again, I think we're strongest when we bring all of our different knowledge groups to the table, and that's, you might see something that I don't, and vice versa.
I already saw it.
Good.
Creative visualization, they call it. I have one more thing.
We have one more question.
We have one more question. That's yeah.
Oh, it's me?
No, that's you.
Oh. Okay, so I think they might have talked about this, but this question was related to the software. What software or processes did you use to manage the project timeline? What reporting or other deliverables can we expect, and what frequency? I think they may have covered it already in the presentation. Though.
Yeah.
If you want to comment on the software again.
So for scheduling, we can use any scheduling software that the town and the general contractor is familiar with. We typically have our net point software that PMA kind of teaches our staff on, but we are familiar with P6. I'm very proficient with P6, Microsoft Project, all those scheduling software. So we're very flexible in terms of that. It usually comes down to what the general contractor uses. Some are really technically savvy and use some of, P6 or something like that. And some will send you an Excel document with just bars, and that you don't want to get into that. So schedule wise, I think that we're very flexible. In terms of budget monitoring, we have our dashboard that we track all invoices. We're able to forecast cash flow, forecast incoming costs. And that really helps us keep in front of any trends that may not be promising for the project. Change order management, we have our change log, like I said. I don't know if I'm missing anything for kind of.
You talked about Power BI.
Yeah.
With the,
You have plenty of software anyway. anything you,
Procore we use with the general contractor.
Yeah, we
manage
Procore,
all the documentation.
those, yeah.
I got one. I want to go back just a little bit to the energy saving. So we're hearing a lot, maybe these guys haven't heard a lot, but I've heard a lot. And I just want to say a couple of Catlin's buildings recently, they do that VFD, variable refrigerant flow,
BRF?
VRF,
Yep.
variable refrigerant flow. You guys got any comment on that?
Lot of equipment,
I know it's a ton of equipment,
lot of
a
equipment.
lot of units everywhere, a
But
lot of
it's-
piping, tremendous amount of piping.
For comfort, I think, it's pretty good. We just turned over 200,000 square foot school and we've gotten a couple of little complaints, but not a lot. I guess that would be my opinion.
Yeah, I haven't had much of a negative experience with it. We did have some issues with it being installed in a police station at Marshfield. That wasn't due to the system design as much as the distributor giving us the wrong calculations to load the system with refrigerant. So that was an issue in itself. But in terms of overall performance, once we set it up, the police were more than happy with it. And if you know them, that most police, they're pretty fickle about their thermostats.
So basically an electric system with a souped up series of controls and local control and everything else.
And how, in those systems, how long have they been typically running without significant issues arising? 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? Do you have any kind of, like, how reliable is the system over time?
So for the Marshfield Police Station, once we got it up and running, that was in 2019, and I haven't had an email since. So
Yeah, I mean,
5 years so far,
Yeah.
almost 6.
We'll do a 10-month follow-up if we have a commissioning agent. I would recommend that, of course. That kind of is an eye opener to how are things going so far. But to Kevin's point, we normally get called back with large things that are going on. And we have not, thankfully.
Thank you.
Any other last questions?
Yeah, I got one. So we're about to head into schematic design. And as we head through that process, can you speak of any ideas or examples you've had with value engineering? And, our price tag right now, 16.6 million, is a lot for this town, and we're working to reduce that. But we don't want to, lose the quality of the product we get in the building. So I guess that's my question. Any examples of, as you go through the schematic design process?
So my understanding is that right now the building's designed at plus or minus 14,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's hard because you don't want to sacrifice program and functionality for the future for the building. But I would look for some possible adjacencies, maybe use of common spaces for multiple activities that could decrease footprint and save costs. We've also implemented reduction of corridors in some projects where it doesn't look like a lot at first, but they add up quick to square footage and cost.
Yeah, you take a foot off a long corridor and kind of pull it all in and it's still, it's cost per square foot. Minimum.
Just off the top of my head, that would be something that I would look at first, just to try. You never want to start to cut to the point where you're like, why are we building this? So the intent would be to look where we could slice pieces off without compromising the integrity of the project and the operations that are going to be in there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, once we get the documents, we can go through a list. We look at it collectively as well and, put some ideas on a list and see, if they're palatable or not. That's usually what a log starts with, so.
We've built buildings with kind of a white space where they have the space for whatever programming they're going to put in it. We just haven't outfitted it yet. That allows them for future growth while saving money up front. That's something that we may be able to look into if the town was interested. It's really what a combination of what the town has an appetite for and what works best with the project.
And kind of the other side of the coin would be, getting funds that are non-local funds, so, grants and things along those lines. Do you have much experience helping the towns? Do you help, seek out funds that the town can, go for and get for projects as we're going through the process, or?
I mean, outside of the energy saving rebates, those are what I've had most experience with, kind of that funding, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can help for sure. We can, if they need a list of, what the project is and that sort of thing, we normally help with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we do have experience writing up, different type of memoranda and stuff to supplement, going for different grants.
Okay.
So we would be more than happy to assist with that. Just my personal experience has been mostly energy savings.
Okay.
If you can ask.
Any comment on working with John Catlin or any experience working with John Catlin in the past? No, okay.
Not myself, no.
No, he was involved on a Marshfield project, but then dropped off before we were engaged, so. Crossed paths, but never worked together.
He's been engaged for a while here.
Yes.
My understanding is senior centers his area of expertise, his specialty.
BH plus A is another firm that will work with senior center
Yeah,
designs.
we
You've only-
looked into them too.
Am I correct that you've only done 2 senior centers? Is that correct?
Yes.
So, yeah, one of those senior centers was the renovation that you were talking about.
Andover, the Rob Center,
Yeah. And what was the other one?
the North Andover Senior Center.
Okay, yeah, we actually,
Nothing, no?
North
Sure it's
Andover.
North Andover.
Yeah, Catlin was involved in that one.
You sure it was North Andover?
Yes, this was the first one, not the new one that just
Oh,
opened
okay,
up,
got
like,
it.
what, a year ago?
Oh, I
Yes.
see.
Correct.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Any closing remarks?
Questions for us?
Thank you for the opportunity. We are curious on when a decision would be made. I don't know if you're able to.
So we have the interviews today and another set on Friday. And if we don't make the decision Friday, I think it's probably going to be the following week. So pretty quickly.
Okay.
Just be-
I mean, given our
Yeah.
timeline, we need to
Right.
kind of, by the end of June, have buttoned things up, so.
Yeah, well, I guess time to get it.
Sure.
Yeah. That was really all the question. I don't know if anybody else.
My question was answered about the town meeting.
Spring.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for the opportunity. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for
Thanks for coming.
coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Right on the button, 1:00. You're impressive.
Should I listen? Stop? Can we take like a recess?
Yeah, you could do that. Oh, we're back on.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're back on. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. So we're hoping we give you guys a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes to make a brief presentation and then just pre-prepared a set of questions. We'll go around and ask and then open it up for follow-up and additional.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Welcome.
So we put together a PowerPoint for that quick 15-minute intro. And I'm confident we'll get through it in 15 minutes. So thank you so much for shortlisting us for this amazing project. We know you guys have been at it since 2018 or so. So you've been fighting the good fight, and we hope to be your OPM teammate to help you through the process from this point on. Next slide. Sorry. So the team here has the technical competency, project experience, soft skills, and workload capacity to be that all-star OPM team that this project deserves. I'm Phil Palumbo. I would be the project director. I've been a project director with Colliers for the past 12 years. Before Colliers, another 8 years in the design and general construction industries. So like I said, I would be a project director as well as project manager through the project. Brady.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brady Doyle. I'm the project manager with Colliers. I've been with Colliers for just about a year now. And prior to Colliers, I also come from the design realm, if you will. I worked as a structural engineer for 6 years. And great to meet you all.
Tal?
Talwin, Senior Financial Analyst with Colliers, and I'll just help you with your financial monitoring and reporting, be sure we're, up to date with, financials. And, I have about over a decade of, experience in the public sector, and I hope I can,
Perfect, thanks. I'm Sarah Maston. I'm a mechanical engineer. I have about 25 years worth of experience both on the design side and the commissioning side for MEP systems. And I lead our commissioning and sustainability team.
Thanks, guys. Next slide. So Colliers has been around since 1996, sole focus of being an owner's project management firm. So we've worked on municipal projects out in Berkshire, Mass, Western Mass down to the Cape, serving towns just like the town of Ayer on their municipal projects. Like Sarah mentioned, we also have in-house a commissioning department, so mechanical, electrical, plumbing. On all our OPM engagements, we make sure we use that resource. It can be as limited as design reviews on the MEP systems going into the bid phase to make sure those systems are depicted appropriately. And it can be as big as them literally being hired to be the MEP commissioning agent on the project. So Sarah's team was the MEP commissioning agent on the Hadley Senior Center project, South Hadley Senior Center project, and so on. So a lot of municipal project experience, and we hope to be able to kind of showcase that for you all and become your OPM on your senior center project. Next slide. So on this slide here, we just have 4 projects. They were in our quals package, but we thought it'd be good to kind of quickly highlight some aspects of them. So upper left is the Hadley Senior Center project. This was completed back in 2020. Total building size right around 10,350 square feet. Total project budget right around $7 million. I know we all miss those pre-COVID numbers. Don't focus on the number. So a unique aspect of this project was, if you picture the parcel of land the project was on, rectangular shape, senior center project on this side. At the same time, the town was executing a library project on the other end of this parcel of land. When I say that, I mean a full-blown through the MBLC grant program, the whole thing, separate architect, separate OPM. So we had to team up with them during design, develop a unified site plan. So the way it's laid out, you got senior center here, library here, and a parking lot that accommodates both buildings. So we had to engineer-wise connect with their civil engineer, stormwater drainage calcs, the whole thing, make sure utilities weren't conflicting. And then during construction, making sure these rough contractors are playing nice in the sandbox, the whole thing. So very unique experience, successful one, both buildings constructed on time, on budget. So that was the unique aspect of that one. Upper right, South Hadley Senior Center project, that was finished in 2021. That was just over 16,000 square feet. That had a total project budget of right around 11.4 million. Unique aspect of this one, during the way the property's set up, you have the senior center and the parking lot. And then right next to it is their Little League baseball field for town baseball. And because of that connection with the field, during construction, the town got wind of a grant that would pay for the design and the construction of a fitness trail that went around the senior center building and the Little League field. And so what we did is we helped manage the design process of the trail and manage the GC to give us a fair price to do the work. And then at the end of the work, provide all the different payment applications the town needed to submit to the grant program to get reimbursed. But ultimately, it's a fitness trail that the senior center folks use. There's like 4 or 5 stations where there's literally fitness equipment outside that they can use at these different stations. And I want to say the grant was like right around 130K or something like that. So real unique aspect of that project. Brady?
Next up is the Long Meadow Adult Center. That one was approximately 26,000 square feet. Project budget of 14 million, and it was completed in 2021. Catlin Architecture was the architect on that project, so we have some experience with them. The unique part of that project was they did $1 million in fundraising, which, we as the OPM assist the owner on the scope and costs to basically come up with what they could afford. And what they decided with going with was a full-size gym, which is not common in a senior center. Also, they hired local artists to essentially decorate the entire inside of the building which, not only looks great, but also helps local artists, get their names out there. And they also, they, what am I trying to say? They
Every 6
every 6 months, they switch out the artwork, which, that's pretty cool. Moving on to the lower right is West Boylston. That one was roughly 10,000 square feet, approximately $6 million budget, completed in 2019. Unique part of that project was that they went with a full-size commercial grade kitchen, which again is not super common for a senior center. Understanding that there was local restaurants and caterers that wanted to utilize that kitchen space for special holiday meals or host events like that. And then the town also rents out the kitchen and the community room areas so that catering companies can utilize that kitchen to host these types of events. Next slide, please. All right, this slide is our project understanding, considerations and challenges. So through studying the OPM RFQ and going through the different documents on the project website, we understand that you worked with Talon Architecture to develop the feasibility study, which produced the site plans and the project plans, the floor plans. And that produced the site plans and project plans on the property on Bishop Road. Site selection wise, we understand that they're going to carve out a portion of that DPW property on Bishop Road. And through those efforts, we understand that that you guys are ongoing with the due diligence. Bill?
And then, so community outreach, so majority of projects we work on are publicly funded. So we know the feasibility study effort's wonderful and all, but if we can't get town meeting approval, what are we doing? So we want to play our role to help you guys out, get the word out on the project. The last thing we need is to go to town meeting and have taxpayers be surprised by the project. We understand there's going to be a third that may not be for the project regardless of what we do. There's going to be a third that are going to be for the project regardless of what we do. And then there's going to be a third in the middle. We got to garner the most support out of that third that we can get to make sure we have a successful town vote for this project. So whether that's putting out online surveys, community presentations, helping out with the project website, maybe it's developing a social media page for whatever it might be, collectively, let's have the conversation to understand what that best looks like, and let's do it so that when we get to town meeting, we feel like we did all we could at that point. Budget confirmation. So you might know this, but since COVID, cost estimators that used to be wonderful at estimating projects just like this one are all of a sudden not wonderful. Now, I love them all. I work with them all. But these smaller municipal projects are very challenging for them to estimate what they're going to come in at bid time. Not because they don't understand what material costs are, not because they don't understand what labor costs are. It's because the bidding appeal of a project like this isn't what it was pre-COVID. It just isn't. It just isn't. So we understand you guys have crunched some numbers with John Catlin, understanding some past projects of his, put together total, and that's awesome. We're going to want to dive into that and really say to each other, okay, this is what we're thinking. Let's put our heads together and say, okay, this is the budget that we feel like it can afford everything you want. And we feel confident at bid time, we're not going to have a bid overage, because smaller scale municipal projects like this, that's still happening. So that's a big part. Schedule confirmation all day long. We'll create a critical a baseline schedule for the project. We'll want to present it to you all, and we'll want to present it to Catlin Architecture and make sure we're all on the same page with it. And whatever tweaks need to be made to that baseline schedule, let's make them. And that way we can be in lockstep moving forward. And it'll be our responsibility to manage all the vendors involved, design team, contractors, whatever it might be, to make sure we go out to bid when we say we're gonna, go out to town meeting when we say we're gonna, so on and so on. And then just overall project leadership, like I mentioned earlier, we know you guys have been going at this since 2018 or so. So you guys got a lot of experience with all the ins and outs that come with this, but there's a lot more to learn. We love playing that kind of primary coordinator role of keeping things organized, managed, and on track to make sure we can get to a successful finish. So that's that slide. Next slide, please. just a couple more. Tao.
I just want to talk about a little bit about how we manage risk. I think what we bring a lot of value here in terms of budget development and making sure we stay on track is through our estimate reconciliation process. We facilitate those meetings. We go through design reviews and making sure that all the scope is aligned with both estimators, making sure that we have apples to apples comparison. Because, cost and quality, we want to make sure it flows through all of our documents. And this process helps with transparency when we go out to the community. So we want to make sure that all of our documents are in a row. We're providing the most extensive information we can to the public. Our team will also help you with that value management process. I think we always hear value engineering, but we call it value management because it's not always about saving costs, but preserving quality and making changes where they seem appropriate or likely or something you haven't considered before. We always bring that up to the forefront for your consideration. And one of the things we bring a lot of value to is our cash flow process. In terms of managing your finances through this project, making sure that we have a steady burn rate, right? Making sure we're spending money accordingly to produce a building, right? Talking about making sure that we're appropriating the right funds at the right time and helping you track any rebates, grants, incentives we may obtain along the way as well is huge in terms of cash flow monitoring. And just working closely with you all in the town to make sure that we reconcile all of our books. I know through this process, there's going to be a lot of audits. We want to make sure our constituents understand that we're, not misleading dollars.
Thanks, Tao. Sarah, next slide, please. And then this is Adam.
Absolutely. So one of the more complicated decisions you're gonna have to make is what kind of heating and cooling systems you have for your building. There's a lot of opportunities out there, particularly in Massachusetts right now, and Ayer as a green community also has access to certain green funding that we can also help you navigate some of that. So, what we're going to do is work with the design engineers to make sure that, we're kind of looking at what we call system selections, that we're taking all the different things into account, because the more efficient equipment is going to be a higher first cost, but you're going to see savings in your monthly utility bills. But we're going to kind of take those baseline systems, if you will, and then kind of offer up different systems. You don't have to, necessarily have the gas boiler or the full geothermal system. There's lots of opportunities in between to do some kind of hybrid systems. So it will really be conversations with you and with the design team to figure out what makes the most sense for the project. And some of the things that we do here is we basically do a life cycle cost analysis. So again, kind of what Tao was saying is being able to compare apples to apples in like present dollars. Like I said, so in the case of the more efficient equipment, there's going to be a higher first cost. What does that look like over the 30, 40 years? And then different kinds of equipment have different lifespans. So by putting that all into present dollars, you'll be able to compare and see, what the best value is based on the requirements of your systems.
Thank you, Sarah. And then the next slide is just intro in the Q&A, I believe. So thank you so much for the 15 minutes. Hopefully we hit it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So what benefit can your firm provide our project that other OPM firms may not be able to?
Yeah, so what I would say is I think our overall municipal project experience doing this since 1996 for towns just like here, I think there's that layer. And I think the in-house MEP commissioning team is a massive resource. I think we've done a lot of projects that other firms do not have. And so that slide just now that Sarah was speaking to, the key component of that is making sure we're managing the HVAC engineer so that they're putting that data in front of you all. Another OPM firm might not stress that as much as we're going to, being that we have Sarah's team to help with that. And then during the construction phase, in the event there are MEP related issues, we don't hesitate to reach out to them to help them guide us through the appropriate resolution. So the in-house commissioning team. And then just our overall experience with that cost-effective topic, right? So doing all we can to seek out grants and rebates and other ways, as well as managing the contractors to make sure Any change order issues are down at a fair number, not an overpriced number. So that at the end of the project, we can show that we came in under budget, and here are the different grant and rebate programs we utilize to help produce savings for the taxpayers of the town of Ayer. So I would say those three main things.
And just as a point of clarification, so is your involvement in the grant process largely limited to like energy related grants or on a broader level?
Broader level.
Okay.
So we know out of the gate, we're gonna go after mass saves. We know if the project goes geothermal, we're gonna go with the IRA, a federal tax program. We're doing that on an elementary school. We're gonna look into, I don't know what furniture consultant Catlin's carrying, but potentially there's some furniture grant programs that can help with that. And then what I would also do is, through our experience with the fundraising on Long Meadow, I would connect with that PM team that was the OPM on that one, to understand what our role was with helping them with all that fundraising they did. So it's broader level, and it's whatever we can to help you guys out. And so that example I brought up with the South Hadley Senior Center, in the event you threw out at us, hey, it looks like this grant looks connected to our project. Can you look into it? 100%.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, the next question. In your experience, what's the most difficult / challenging part of a project? What is the most enjoyable?
Love it. You want to give your experience? Because I want more people to talk, but sometimes I talk too much.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say, from a commissioning standpoint, when we're fully involved in a project, what is the most, I find to be the most fun, to be honest, is we often play the part of the linchpin. So we're really involved in the design side, making sure that, again, when your construction documents go out to bid, that they are tight. There are no questions. There might be, some RFIs throughout the process, but everything's going to be part of the documents, part of the, drawings and specs, and that also will help tighten up your prices. So when it goes out to bid, you're not going to see a big variation because there's no guessing, right? And so we're pretty involved in that piece of it. We're usually also involved in the bid piece, so that, we'll have questions. And then throughout the construction phase, we're kind of handing that baton off to the construction side. So we can say, hey, look, this was the design intent. Because the design engineers aren't often on site. It's the contracting side. They still are involved if there, are questions or something that comes up, or maybe something like has to be rerouted, there's a conflict, et cetera. But, really being able to see the project all the way through, and being able to, start up the equipment and literally have that building comfortable for you, from day one of occupancy, and not chasing issues throughout the year. That, however, does pose challenges, as Phil kind of made a comment, making sure that, that folks are playing nice in the sandbox. Things are going to come up. They always do. And with us on the site, we're not really focused on whose fault it is, but how we're going to correct it, how we're going to move forward, so that there's minimal, effect to your budget or to your schedule. Because in the end, that's our role, is to kind of build that team, and so that everybody feels like they have a say, and that, issues can be resolved.
Yeah, I'll give one more example. So Green Meadow Elementary School project in the town of Maynard, so similar, publicly funded, needed to go through feasibility study effort and then town meeting process. So naturally, you would think the town meeting process is kind of the most stressful, concerning. Oh my God, we're going to get, and it was, but great result, and project is moving forward into design. And so that town meeting process was awesome, successful. And then so you think, okay, we're in the clear, let's finish design, go out to bid, and off we go. We're at the bidding phase now, and went through the bidding process in compliance with all the procurement laws, so on and so on. And low bidder is a bidder that has a past pre-qual, but still at the bid phase, you then, if they're the low bidder, you take the next step and further review them to deem them a responsible bidder per Mass General Law. And through that process, some blemishes are exposed in their past. And so it's our job to provide the findings of that responsibility bidder review and, building committee vote and then select board vote. And provide our 2 cents on, how we feel like, the project can go and can we manage this GC. So we do all that, building committee votes to go forward, and select board last night chooses to not vote. It says, let's hold off. I gotta think more about. So where I'm going, Sarah was kind of insinuating, like every project's got its challenges. And going into one project, you might think, all right, this is gonna be the easy part. And you never know what can pop up.
Can you provide some detail of your firm's experience in accurately estimating a project like the Ayer Senior Center through the schematic design phase only? And do you see any advantages or challenges to completing schematic design by June 30th of this year?
Yeah, so question one, so the projects we had on the slide, so Hadley Senior, South Hadley Senior, Long Meadow, West Boylston. Well, again, let me step back. So we don't do the cost estimating. We always recommend you sub that out to a firm that specializes in cost estimating. So we would recommend through the schematic design phase, Cal and Architecture carry their cost estimator, and we would recommend we carry an owner cost estimator. And both estimators would produce an unreconciled estimate, so a first pass estimate at the drawings and specs. And as Tao was mentioning, we would have a reconciliation meeting, everybody in the room, and go through literally scope of work. So each scope of work on the project, make sure people are understanding the same scope, same material, same, linear footage, square footage, et cetera. And then ultimately come to a reconciled estimate, and then make sure that and then through that effort, we would produce a value management list. Even if that reconciled estimate came in on budget, we would want you all to be able to see a list of scopes of work that we're seeing could be considered a value management scope of work, right? So maybe we had floor to ceiling tile in the toilet rooms. Here's what the reduction looks like if you choose to just go to floor to 4 feet up. It's something as simple as that. We show an abundance of plantings out front. What if that's just, I don't know, bedrock bed type thing? So that's the process we followed during the estimate process. Those projects we spoke about, that's the steps we took. We came in on budget at the bid phase, and we managed those designers to make sure they were producing a design that was on budget. So we got a lot of experience on projects like this, making sure that happens. With that said, what did I also say? Since COVID, these smaller municipal projects, the numbers aren't what people would guess they would be in terms of like a cost per square foot. So I'm telling you now, the budget, we might say this is the right number to bring to town meeting because we think at bid time it's the right number to afford that bidder appeal that we're going to get. Maybe it's higher than what you've seen today. I don't know. Maybe it's not, but these projects are challenging these days. And then the second question, can we get through schematic design by the summer? Yes. Yeah. So you got your designer on board, right? The due diligence behind the scene, we can help manage that to make sure in the cost estimates, we understand what we're seeing for if there's unsuitable soils, urban fill, whatever needs to be captured in that part of the estimate, we'll help figure that out and provide that info to the estimators. But no, if you got your designer on board, so, come March 1 or whatever it might be, we're rolling into SDs. Yeah, no, you got time.
Do you want to give a little background for what we do?
So on the estimator, when you provide us a fee in the future, you're going to give us an estimate for what the estimator is going to cost because it's not going to be included in your fee.
No, we can do it however you want. So we can give you a fee for just our services and we can say to you at the SD estimates, I would recommend budgeting 20K, right? Or for this project, maybe it's 15K. We can do it that way. Or if you said, Phil, it's a lot easier if you just carry the estimators or something, we can do it that way.
Okay.
But either way, we would show you the breakdown of OPM fee versus cost estimator fee.
So in the market right now for this kind of work, there seems to be two estimators that are out there. I think it's A.G. Fogarty and PM&C. Those are everybody's using the same people pretty much. Does Collier's have another special twist on the estimator side?
So I wouldn't say we have a special twist. I would say we value those two companies immensely. We worked with others And we trust those two you listed much more.
Okay,
And we think that comes from their relevant understanding of the market, but also there's a communication flow that needs to happen between project team and estimators. And a lot of times I need it like this, and I trust them.
okay,
And they're reliable and they get back to us promptly. They understand the severity of kind of like the quickness we need to respond. So yeah, we like those two firms.
I'm good on that. Anybody?
Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, next question, so that, because more for Sarah.
Okay.
Can you provide an example of a municipal energy saving project your firm managed? What was the projected percent savings, if you can elaborate on that, in the operation of the building? And then, you know, it could be anything from solar, HVAC design, geothermal, or any related energy saving technology.
Sure. We finished not too long ago. It was a campus project for Acton Boxborough schools that went geothermal. We don't have the savings per se, but we were involved in that project from the very beginning. So we did the design reviews. We helped them make sure. You know, the thing with the geothermal is in a lot of systems, it basically comes down to the sequence of operations and then how you're going to control it in the building. Are you going to have individual thermostats? Is everything going to be separate? Is it going to be monitorable, like from one, you know, PC kind of deal? And so if you have somebody in the town that is maybe even doing work with the schools or other municipal projects, so it would be part of that early conversation with you as far as what you want the control of the building to look like. But and so we work that in early on the design and make sure that that is very clear, so that when it goes to bid, it's very clear, you know, how complex or simplistic you want that to be. We didn't, as far as I know, we didn't really have a lot of issues with the geothermal side of it, but there were some changes as far as the interconnections with the systems inside the building, making sure that like the strainers worked, et cetera. But then we pretty much also had a contract with the schools for the first year of occupancy that we, and this is something that, you know, we can do for a lot of different projects, where we come in like once a month, we review trend data, if, you know, because sometimes if there is something that you know, didn't get caught, particularly in a building like the senior center where the occupancy is going to be varied and different people are going to be, you know, so if you get a hot call or a cold call and then nobody really knows what, you know, is going on. So anyway, we have the ability to run trends to be able to find out, you know, if a room is running cold or hot, and then, you know, can work with the building management to make that happen. So that kind of gives, in that case, it gave Acton Boxborough an opportunity to just kind of work through some things, because they did have like staff, and we also kind of worked on the training side of that as well. So there's a couple of different aspects to that we can offer. Again, having, you know, being involved with the project all the way through, it's easy for us to be able to impart what the design intent is to whoever is tasked with running the building. Because what we find, you know, specifically with greener technologies, newer technologies that some folks might not be familiar with, is they tend to want to run those systems the way they ran the other systems that they had worked on before. So, so yeah, we can bring all of that kind of information to the table and work it out.
So can I just follow on with that question?
Yeah, please.
So what do you think, so the trending looks like going out into the future with respect to geothermal and cost savings?
So I would say that right now, what we're seeing a lot of is more of a hybrid system. Most projects can't afford to go full geothermal. There's sometimes limitations either on the site or just the straight up first costs. We have been working on some programs that have taken full advantage of the IRA funding. And to be honest, most people say that it's untouchable. I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest. I think we're all kind of waiting to see how this all plays out. Yeah, so, you know, so there's that piece, but what I would say is that we are seeing a lot of hybrid systems, because what that allows you to do is make an investment in the systems of this building, Where to then go net zero isn't a huge jump, right? You're pretty much 75% there or 60% or whatever, it looks like, but there's heat pump boilers and there's other newer technologies that we're seeing hit the market all the time. I'm involved with ASHRAE, which is global, and I can tell you that our technology is at least 10 years behind Europe. So, and a lot of those manufacturers are all over. So it's just kind of, taking a lot of that design and then making it, stick for a US market, where it's not technically new. It's been in use, just not here. So I think there's a lot of opportunity, but, I do like to work with clients to get them as green as they can be, that they can afford, that they can sell to their constituency without having to, go from 0 to 100 later. You're already at like 50, you're going 50 to 100 or whatnot.
I'm sorry, could you describe the hybrid system that you're talking about?
Yeah, sure. So in a lot of cases, what they'll do is when you do a geothermal system, you really want those loads to match, right? And in Massachusetts, that's not too difficult. We do typically have more heating requirements than cooling requirements, right? And so what you can do is find that sweet spot. So basically you can say, okay, well, we're going to size our geothermal to handle the cooling load and to give us as much heat as that will give us. And then maybe we have a heat pump boiler that's going to make up the difference. So you kind of, in a way, it's more resilient in the fact that you're providing, your resources from two different systems. So if something were to, if one of the bigger distribution pumps on the geothermal system goes down, well, you still have some backup heat, in that heat pump boiler kind of thing. And so, does that make sense? So yeah, when you're sizing geothermal, you really want the heating and the cooling loads to be just about equivalent. So that way you're not taking more heat out of the ground than you're putting back into it seasonally. And it just gives you, it's more efficient and it's better for the system long term. And so, like I said, so here in Mass, a lot of times there's additional heat that may be required. So, so you can do, like you said, either a heat pump boiler. If there's other systems too that, I'll be honest with you, most of it is heat pump technology. We just put a new heat pump in our house and we've had really good success with it so far. So, but yeah, so with the geo, you can size it slightly differently. It depends on, what the design engineer is willing to do kind of thing. But yeah, so we're seeing more hybrid systems than full out geos.
That's why we have her at those meetings. So
But
she was going through like the life cycle cost analysis slide. So that is an example. So that was actually from the Green Meadow Elementary School project. They actually opted to go full geothermal because they saw because we're going out to the IRA program and so on. So upfront big cost, bigger, but through the maintenance and upkeep lower. And then with the rebate program, life cycle cost and end number shows less than the gas fired. So anyways, but that's the assistance we would bring when the HVAC engineer is giving you all their thoughts.
And when you're working in the communities that you've worked with in Massachusetts, how have you messaged the trade-off between the increased upfront capital costs in order to install the most efficient system versus lower upfront capital costs in order to politically get the system through the town meeting process? Does it vary
I'll be
from?
honest with you, if anybody has gas in your house, then that's all you need to tell them right now, because I live in Hudson, just down 495 from you, and everybody is up in arms right now with just the distribution costs on their gas and what, just how their heating bills have just gone up exponentially. So, it's definitely something that we can put into real dollars because, with that, your higher first cost, to be honest with you, you know what that's going to be. What you don't know is the escalation on gas from here on out, or oil or propane,
Or electric.
Or electric, yes. I think we're getting a little bit better on electric, but again, I live in Hudson. We have our own power and light. But yeah, no, you're right. And so everything's gonna kind of go up. But I think we've seen more on the gas side of things recently than the electric. And I could be wrong in air, but that's been my experience.
Well, one thing I'll say, because let's just be honest with each other, it's a community by community topic.
Yeah.
Like like none of us should assume, oh my God, we got these rebate programs, it's gonna be an easy sell. Nope. Right? Like, so the town of Maynard, the loudest voice there was go green, go sustainable. We see these decarbonization goals from the Commonwealth. Go, go, go. That project, the building committee initially voted for the gas-fired system because they saw an upfront $3.5 million bid savings to go that route. The town lost their shit. And we said, oh my God, if we don't react accordingly, we're not gonna get this project to pass at town meeting. So off we went. So we already had that life cycle cost analysis chart put together that Sarah presented. And that data was spelled out at different public building committee meetings, public forum, the whole thing. But we said, we gotta message this even better, and we gotta get it out even more. And we issued an online survey saying, hey, listen, you all saw the vote. We're hearing this, give us your feedback. Anyway, so they, probably 3 to 4 weeks later said, okay, no, we heard you loud and clear. Well, let's do it. We're gonna go geothermal. We're gonna go after this IRA program, and off we go. And here we had our bid process. We had a early site package. So the 55 wells are being put in as we speak. We've worked on projects where it was a more blue collar community and it wasn't even a topic. We're going gas fired and that's what we're doing. And nobody said anything. So it's like your question of like setting up the project for a successful town meeting vote. None of us can, we got to collaborate and we got to hear what the people say and react accordingly. If at the end of the day, we got to get this in the past, right?
Any experience with solar in the buildings?
Yeah.
We've done some similar stuff. Yeah. There's a couple that in the end went solar ready and didn't end up putting up the panels.
That's a code now anyway.
Yes, and so, yeah, we've done one where they pretty much leased it out.
Oh, they leased it
again,
out.
Yeah, there's different ways to finance that too. So you can own it,
Last thing you want to do.
and if they allow you to sell it back, you can sell it back. We've done some systems with thermal storage, where again, you're kind of doing, your heat or your cooling generation off hours, if depending on your rate structure, and if that's a benefit, we can look into what that looks like, because a lot of times they'll let you sell that back too. But it just, it is definitely a community, and we don't always want to just hear the positive, right? We don't want to get to town meeting and be surprised. So it's kind of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Like, we want to hear what all the conversation is, because there are still folks that if they've even heard of heat pumps, are like, oh, those don't work in cold weather. Well, yeah, actually they do. They work better when it's a little warmer, I'm not gonna lie, but if you're firing gas, you're never gonna get to 100% efficiency, right? There's always some loss, where heat pumps are gonna get you 3 to 1, 4 to 1. And yes, does that variation changes if it's an air system, but with the geothermal, that is definitely, there's less of a variance there, because what you're going up on the ground is much more consistent.
Some of the projects that CAP has done recently, they're leaning towards this variable refrigerant flow.
ARS system, yeah.
So what's your experience? What do you guys think of that? You got a comment on that?
So you can, and again, from a hybrid standpoint, you can hybridize that too. My personal opinion is I don't like to see those in schools as much, because right now we're going through a big refrigerant phase out. If you weren't aware of that, all the CFCs and HCFCs
Opteon.
that have I'm sorry?
Opteon is one of the new refrigerants.
Okay, so we got an expert in the room too, he can help me out. But up until now, refrigerants were basically non-flammable, but the newest refrigerants are slightly flammable, which requires some additional ventilation and monitoring systems. When you have variable refrigerant, you basically have refrigerant throughout the building. The problem with that is once the walls go up and the ceilings go up, nobody knows where that went. Okay, so where you have ductwork or larger pipes and as-built drawings, a lot of times those are easier to track. But what people love about variable refrigerant is the fact that it's smaller, it doesn't take up that much space, you have pretty good control, you can have multiple diffusers in a space that's high to one condensing unit, so you don't have, you know, a whole condensing unit farm. But when it's that small, like I said, people tend to lose track of it. So you can hybridize the system using some geo. But I would highly recommend doing like a water source heat pump or something that confines the refrigerant to a particular space or a couple of spaces. And then distribute, you know, air or water from there to other systems. That way your refrigerant can be isolated and monitored better than it can be in a full variable refrigerant system.
Thanks.
Just, I'm gonna go right back to your solar question. So Green Meadow Elementary School in Maynard, I keep bringing it up. So that's going LEED Gold. So essentially every square inch of the roof is gonna have PV, and then we're doing a carport. On your comment about leasing versus owning, we'd recommend, so this consultant that the town is using for understanding a life cycle cost analysis on the solar system, do we own, do we lease? She's awesome. Very cost effective in terms of what, so we would recommend the town look into consulting with an expert, because this solar topic isn't just you got to study the numbers. And we would recommend that.
Like everybody at this table has solar just about, I think. No, I'm not. You don't have it yet.
Yeah. So, but like you mentioned, with the updated stretch code, if you're bringing gas to the building, you need PV. It's a requirement, right? So it's a real topic that needs to be figured out.
We spent a lot of time on HVAC.
Yeah.
Too much time. Who's next?
What role will your firm play in marketing and outreach to the public as well as town officials in preparation for the fall town meeting?
Yep. So what we would do, so we know you got your project website. So we would want to really study that to make sure we feel like it's user friendly, it's super accessible to taxpayers. So that's the website. We would want to ask you all, I didn't look, if there isn't a social media project site, do you all want to create one? We've worked on projects where they were all smart. We've worked on projects where they didn't love that idea because it's just a sounding board for naysayers and so that would cover the social media side of things. Presenting at community forums, we would be your OPM at those presentations, talking about the technical side of things, budget, schedule, et cetera. Online surveys, we would help put those together. We're doing one right now for an elementary school project to get feedback on different design schemes for that project. So producing online surveys is something we would help with. And then any other, so a lot of times we'll help like a trifold that might want to get put out there leading up to a town meeting, leading up to a community forum. I saw you guys, it was a beautiful brochure you put together in November, October. Any assistance you may need on editing that or coming up, we would be part of that process too. So ultimately, every step of community outreach on the project, we would like to play a role in it, big or small.
Do you have a designated marketing or PR department?
So we have a marketing department, and yes, for graphics and whatnot, would they provide assistance to us? Yes. But as it relates to kind of the technical content on the brochures, on the what, that would be from us.
Next question. Please describe a typical day on the job, mid-project. And how would you handle potential workload conflicts across multiple projects that you're assigned to? And what are your best practices for avoiding excessive change orders?
I love it. So typical day on the job you want to talk about.
Typical day on the job. So that Green Meadow job, Bill and I are working on that together. I just had an OAC meeting this morning, so I facilitate those. That's just basically a rundown of construction progress and whatnot, go through our 5 submittals, make sure everyone's on the same page. And then, that project is just getting out of the first phase, which is a site clearing project. And it's rolling into the construction phase, which Phil mentioned earlier. We're just getting through the bidding phase now. So, that will translate into, we have a construction rep on site. He's there every single day, making sure that the progress is being tracked, and we send field reports, weekly field reports. So, all the field reports we'll send to you guys, and as far as that's my role, assisting Phil. He's the main point of contact. He's the director. But me, we work together hand in hand every single day. We're always on top of everything, communicating to you all, every other party that's involved with the project.
No, change order. So let's tell her about like our change order management on the Amesbury project.
Change order management.
So when we get PCOs that we think are unfairly priced.
Yeah, so we receive those from everyone that's involved, and we go through that closely. We mark up, if we feel like that something's too high, we'll mark that up and we'll send it back to them. We work closely with the architects on that as well. So that's part of the process.
Yeah, so we treat every penny like it's ours. We're not going to present to you a recommended PCO to approve.
Potential change order, just to let.
Proposal change order, I'm
Proposed
sorry,
change order.
proposal change order. If we feel like it's unfairly priced, we're not going to do that. So we put a lot of effort in making sure we get the number down to what we think is a fair and reasonable price. And typically speaking, the first pass, it's not. So that takes a lot of time to fight the good fight with the GC and whoever the sub might be to get them down to a number. And an example on a roof replacement project we're working on together, we weren't able to. So there's a contractual method you can use if you're unable to come to terms with the contractor, and that's a construction change directive, a CCD, and you have the architect issue it, and you say, hey, listen, we think the fair price on this scope is $7,500. Here's your CCD not to exceed $7,500. We'll track it on time and material. So we're experiencing those different tools and strategies to make sure contingency expenditure is not too much and is appropriate.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said you have a construction rep on site every day, but you don't have that person listed as part of the team.
Yep, I can answer that. So knowing that this is kind of an effort going into a town meeting, we didn't have a construction rep slated in the qualis package, but 1000%, any municipal project we serve like this one, we would at a minimum recommend a construction rep from Colliers in-house because of efficiency purposes, at a minimum twice a week on site. Hadley project, South Hadley, they were on site 3 days a week. But a lot of times full-time may not fit within the project budget. And so a project like this, having that construction rep on site 3 days a week, it works out just fine. So yes, we would 100% at the next contractual amendment where it was projects approved or moving forward, we would propose a construction rep that you would all review their resume, et cetera. Yes, we would definitely recommend that.
Thank you.
On change orders, what do you see as kind of the main reasons change orders have to occur, and what steps kind of can you preemptively take to minimize the need for change orders?
Sure. So I would say two main reasons. One, unforeseen conditions. So it's hard to resolve unforeseen conditions during design because they're unforeseen, right? So that's a big part of change orders. And then the other part, and we talked about design reviews, is errors and omissions, right? Architects, engineers, they're not perfect. They're human just like us. They're going to have mistakes. So as your OPM, at the 3 phases in design, we're going to do design reviews and constructability reviews. So what we do is we look at past projects and what were the abundance of E&O change orders on those. And we make sure we go through every single drawing and every single spec page and make sure those different issues that occurred on this project aren't happening on this project. And we'll develop essentially a rolling design review punch list that before we go with the bid, we got to make sure each item is closed out. So we feel like we have the tightest drawings and specs possible going into the bid phase. So I would say unforeseen conditions and then errors from the design team.
Let's skip the last one.
You want to skip the
Was it
last?
me?
Yeah, that's you.
We had a question about, and I'm not sure you may have already covered it. This has to do with the software that you use, processes you use to manage the project timeline and other reporting that you use on deliverables. What can we expect and what frequency of reporting we would get, things like that.
Sure. You want to talk about monthly reporting, weekly?
Yeah, so the monthly reports. So we provide OPM monthly reports. We'll provide, things that are coming up, project-wise. We'll also attach, the financial statements as well. Any CO logs, anything like that. I'm referencing the integrated replacement project. That's kind of what we've been doing for that project. And then for the weekly reports, we send out, it's a construction weekly report. It's just, we basically, we go on site two or three times a week, and we just, provide you guys an update on what's on site, what we're seeing. And then we'll also attach the project schedule to that as well, or a 3-week look ahead that we get from the contractor. And then as far as the project schedule, it's a typical Gantt chart that we update whenever there's updates.
Yeah, so during the design phase, standard process, monthly updates, monthly OPM report, budget update, schedule update, and the things that occurred over the past 30 days, and what are we seeing for the next 30 days. And then once the project gets into construction, you're gonna have your weekly field reports showing construction photos and the different activities that occurred on site. And then there would be a monthly kind of construction summary update of what occurred those 30 days and look ahead for the next 30 days. In the event, the other big thing about the monthly updates is a cash flow update. So out of the gate, the cash flow is going to conservatively assume contingency expenditure. So as the project gets further along in construction, and we're seeing that contingency expenditure isn't so severe, that cash flow is going to show less conservative. So you all have a better understanding borrowing wise and look ahead wise, what money would be remaining by the end of the project. And ultimately, as that process is happening, in the event it seems like there's a need for, I don't know, select board has a lot to say. Can we get them bi-weekly updates? FinCom, we can 100% react accordingly and bob and weave with any requests that come.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other last questions on our side? Nope.
Awesome. Oh.
Did you have one?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Any questions for us or any closing remarks?
Yeah, so we had a list of a few questions. So question one, what do you guys foresee as the biggest challenges associated with this project?
Hiring the OPM.
Town meetings, typical. Hiring an OPMs, that's the first one I've heard.
GC.
Yeah?
Getting the right GC.
You ain't kidding.
With the project, once your GC starts, it's gonna always be the hardest.
I like it. Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is gonna be money wise, in terms of convincing the town, which is not a very affluent community like Long Meadow and
Yeah.
some of these others, Andover. They seem to buy in on the need for a senior center. But there's a lot of concern. I mean, that's why we're working so hard with the town officials to try to get some free cash or something. And then also working with Catlin on reviewing the size and other things that can cut back on the cost.
Yep.
That's, because it's going to be, I think, in some cases, a hard sell.
Sure. And then project timeline, I know I saw in the RFQ, it was laid out such that the project wanted to try to target fall town meeting of this year.
Mhm.
But then I feel like I saw in researching different documents in the website, a prior thought that maybe you were going to do a special town meeting this month of this year.
So we were intending
Sure.
to get to the spring town meeting this year.
Got it.
We've since pushed it to a fall town meeting. But our current funding for the project is a state housing choice grant, and that does end on June 30th. So we do need to complete
Hence your
schematic
June 30th.
design by June 30th. Yeah, or a little before then if possible. Yeah.
Fair enough. Love it. So when do you guys think you wrap up kind of OPM selection?
The sooner the better.
Right.
So I think we have another set of interviews later this week, and then we haven't discussed with the committee yet, but I'm thinking we'll meet next week to really try and make that decision and move forward.
Great. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh.
I always need to see you for that.
Katie, we should probably, if you want to adjourn,
Yeah.
but we have to just, next meeting, we
Wait a
can
minute,
know.
do we
Yeah, so we gotta, yep.
Oh, yeah.
Just give it just a second.
Good meeting you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
I move that we adjourn.
Oh, wait a minute, we don't have our, we don't have any public, right? So we don't have to do public input. So our next meeting is on, Friday. That's the IT director.
Oh, okay.
So our next meeting is Friday at 10 a.m. to interview Vertex. And then I was hoping that we would be able to have discussion, if not a vote on Friday.
Yeah, you had it on your agenda.
Yeah, and then the agenda for Friday does mention potentially signing the schematic design contract, but then Dan reminded me that that actually needs to wait until we bring the OPM on and they review the contract. So, but yeah, all right. So, and then I guess at our meeting on Friday, we can choose when the next one is after that. But is everybody on board? As I said that in the to both candidates, is everybody on board to meet next week to just keep it moving forward? Okay.
So when are we gonna, so Friday, we're gonna vote on who we want for the vote OPM.
Yes. As long as we have a quorum, I think we should.
Oh, I agree. We should.
Yeah.
Everybody
What's
agrees?
the timing in terms of how much they want to charge? Because if we can pick this, somebody, but if they're very high, then we're,
Well, that's why I wanted to kind of keep it moving by meeting again next week, because then we can go into the fee negotiations and that could take a little bit of time.
Can we do that in executive session? Contract negotiations, isn't that?
I don't,
Yeah,
we,
I don't know.
yeah, I'd have to follow up on that. I don't
I think-
think,
Yeah. Let's come up with a plan
Right.
between
I mean,
now and.
and the reason is, if we enter into negotiations with the first,
Mhm.
whoever is second in line may now have access to that in the original negotiation in terms of the pricing, you know, that you're not.
so let
It
me
does
follow
sound
up
like
with,
an executive.
I think it usually is executive.
Yeah.
there's a list of criteria. There's 9,
Yeah.
right, reasons that you can go into executive session. So I'll just
Yeah.
review those with Robert between now and then.
Yeah.
But I think next week is,
Okay.
So somehow we're gonna select this, my own thought now. We're gonna try to select one of the OPMs on Friday. Then we'll be able to contact that OPM and when we contact them in a letter or whatever, we will notify them, be prepared to discuss your fee when you come into the next meeting, something like that.
and we should have that.
Some language has
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be,
yeah.
we have to create.
So so on Friday, by Monday morning, 9 a.m., we know who the OPM, our initial choice on who the OPM is.
Yeah, I mean, provided we have like a group like this where we have quorum and, yeah.
And then next week, we schedule a time for that OPM to come in, meet either in public session or executive session with us to discuss the scope of the work and what the fee is going to be between now and the end of June.
I'll clarify whether that needs to be in a public session or whether that's something that's like part of, like, I won't be able to sign that contract. You won't be able to sign that contract due to its dollar value. So it may even be something that is able to be handled. I just don't know.
Sure,
So I don't
sure.
want to speculate. I just don't know exactly.
So we don't know.
I need to ask.
We don't know what the town's contract, we don't have a clear understanding of what the town's contract with this OPM will be, like in writing.
They're
We
gonna
don't
give
have
us,
a-
They're gonna give us.
They're gonna give us their contract.
Fee proposal with
Yeah, they'll give us their contract.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So next week, when they come in, they should have a draft copy of what their proposed contract would be.
Yeah, they'll probably email that to us.
Okay.
I don't think
Yeah.
you need to come in
All right.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
wouldn't we have to rate the 3 so that if the first one gives us an outrageous cost, we go to number two?
I don't think we have to. I mean, I suppose we could, but
we
I
could
think
do
we
that
could
Friday.
surmise
Yeah.
that in our discussion because rating them initially was part of the state requirement, but we didn't even have to do interviews. So I don't think we have to rate them again.
I'm not saying we have to.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying we don't want to have to meet again and say this guy
Right.
was.
Well, I think as part of our discussion, we could say, well, all right, so after we pick our first one, who would we choose as the second one?
Yeah, that's all. I'm
Right,
saying.
yeah, follow up.
Yeah, I have a question about Colliers, you know, in their proposal. They start out by talking about how they need to, how we should change the RFQ, the owners of the owner's project management agreement.
That's just.
No exceptions.
Yeah.
That's an exception.
Yeah, I mean, are we happy? I mean, these exceptions are okay with us?
I read it, they didn't seem like. a
Yeah,
big
they
deal.
just seemed mostly like,
Technical stuff.
language. Yeah, just more like language than.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
in a way that they can't help.
They're trying to get rid of their liability.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I mean, that's what I was,
Mhm.
Maybe have to put it back in.
Robert's office is reviewing.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Okay, all right. So can I get anything else or you get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
And the chair says aye. Thank you, everyone.